Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul on demand, season 2, episode 32 with Kameron Marlowe.
Even up to like Nickelback and bands like that. So like even into that 2000s like grunge era.
Would you go on record and say that you enjoy Nickelback?
Oh yeah, I don't care. I absolutely like them, dude.
Yeah, my God.
They're killer, man.
Yeah, dude. As soon as we got to this point, I was like, all right, this is my guy. This is a fun interview. So hop on in here when we get to talk to Kameron Marlowe. If you want to go back and listen to any of our old podcasts, man, we just had Gretchen Wilson in here, Dasha, Jason Aldean, Tiger Lily Gold, Brantley Gilbert. They all stop by here, Taste of Country Nights on demand. Go ahead and check it out wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And let's get into this interview here with Kameron Marlowe. Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul, hanging out here with Kameron Marlowe. Your new single, Strangers. Tell me a little bit about the story behind that.
So Strangers, actually, Ella Langley, who's on that song with me, I think me and her were doing a show out in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And she came up to me and she was like, we hadn't wrote before. And I was like, no, we haven't. Let's get a day on books. So we sat down, we wrote with a couple of other of our buddies, and man, this song just kind of flew out. Like, it was just one of those fast songs. Like, we knew exactly what we were doing. We weren't planning on writing a duet, but she was like, let's just try and see what happens.
Did you go in like, we want to do a country waltz type song?
No, it kind of happens weird every time. You just pick up that guitar and just start playing chords, man. Okay.
Who was playing like good old traditional country music in your house growing up in North Carolina?
It was definitely been my dad, and then past him, my grandfather was the biggest Opry fan, so we watched the Opry every time it was on.
Did he get a chance to see you play?
Unfortunately, he did not.
Okay.
But he always told me, he was like, "You've made it if you played the Opry." So that was a cool day to make my debut out there.
Really?
Yeah, and I've gotten to do it so much since. But yeah,
does it ever get like old?
No, man, never gets old. I'm so lucky that this is my job. I guess I used to sell car parts, and now I get to do this. So this beats that by a long shot.
Okay,
man.
all right. There's a lot of like real country like arrangements on the album. Tennessee Don't Mind,
yeah, man,
as another one. Do you have any like other non-country influences?
I have a lot of rock influences. So there's a couple songs on there that have a little bit of that rock influence. And I think that's probably from my mom. She was like an 80s head. So I guess I just kind of got musical influences
like,
from everywhere.
Like, are we talking like Def Leppard, Poison?
Yes, even up to like Nickelback and bands like that. So like even into that 2000s like grunge era.
Would you go on record and say that you enjoy Nickelback?
Oh, yeah, I don't care. I absolutely like them, dude.
Yeah, my God.
They're killer, man.
Yeah, dude. Anybody who says Nickelback is just scared to admit
no,
it, man.
Yes,
you
without
can't
a doubt.
hear a Nickelback song and not be hyped.
Yeah.
What inspired Never Really Knew?
Oh, man. So we were writing on the bus. I was in Canada with a guy named James McNair, and we just kind of started picking some songs or kicking some ideas around. He was like, man, I have kind of this verse idea. And he started singing about this woman, Miss Carol. And I was like, who the hell is Miss Carol? And he was like, I just don't know where to go with this. And I was like, well, it's definitely a story song. We finished that verse and kind of realized like where the song was going. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those ones where, man, like I've known people that's had bad drug addictions, bad addictions altogether and stuff like that. So I just felt like it was a song that people needed to hear because like, some of those people, you won't see it on their face, you know, like they're going to be able to hide that and keep that away from you. And it's a song that I felt like people needed to hear. And I know it's probably not the most happy and exciting song in the world, but it's one of those ones that should make you feel something.
Okay. There is a lot of storytelling on this record, like a lot of really strong storytelling. What parts of the job of being a country music artist come easy for you, and what's like really hard?
Live performance, I feel like is easy for me, but that's where I feel like the most comfortable. I don't know. It's, that's like the one place that I'm like, man, this is where I can really just do what I love to do. And I'm very blessed to have that side. The hard part, golly, I think just the industry in general, just like the day ins, day out, living in a big city. Like it's just a weird thing for me. A lot of traffic I'm not used to. And it's really hard to like, I don't know, like adjust to that. And I've been here 5 years now, but it's still just kind of weird. Like I feel more peace when I'm outside of the city than when I'm here.
Okay. And that weird question though. So like you're touring a lot now.
Yeah.
Is it different? Like, you can't take a dump on the bus.
Yeah, man, it's different. You're just praying you get to that venue by the time you got to go. And you're praying someone's at the venue by the time you got to go. Good gosh.
How many times do you end up in a shady place sitting down?
Oh, man, I would say at least one run. Like you're in the Wendy's by like exit 26, nowhere, Montana, and you're like, I got to go now.
That's something they don't prepare you for.
No, they definitely
seriously, because a lot of artists come through here, and we don't talk about it enough. And there's a rule, obviously, on buses that you can't go number 2, and these. Here's another thing: the more successful you become, the more money you have, the you'll be on a bus.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The more you would tend to go number 2 in more bougie places.
Yeah.
But when you're out on the road, like Keith Urban might have to go to a Love's truck stop and go number 2. That's something that we need to talk about more. I'm in on that. Speaking of being on the road, you opened for Luke Bryan on the farm tour.
Yeah.
You did some shows with Kane and Laney in Australia.
Yeah, man.
How is it playing overseas?
Overseas is a blast. And they are like such a different crowd in the best way, where they are very attentive. They want to know every word. And they honestly, like, what I was so blown away by is like they knew my whole last record. Like when we were playing our sets for the festival out there, they were screaming every song. And I was like, this is crazy to be all the way out in Australia. Like, I've never even been here, and they know the songs. So that was a top 10 moment for me.
Okay. And who did you learn the most from, would you say, out of the big people that you've opened up for?
I would have to say Morgan. Morgan Wallen he's got his show dialed in, and he really puts on like a master class on how to put a show on. Him and Luke Combs they both have like been really big help as far as like learning how to put the show together, entertain people.
Okay, so you got Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Luke Bryan, Kane Brown, and Lainey Wilson.
Yeah. Who
has the best tour spread catering wise?
Out of those people, I would say Luke, yeah, Combs has got, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot Brian was on there, but Luke Combs has got the best spread by far.
Really?
I mean, he's got like probably lobster every once in a while. The same catering that he had, Brad Paisley had on our first tour, and the food was ridiculous.
So Luke Combs is giving artists backstage cater lobster.
I'm assuming so. I mean, Brad did, and that's the same company, so I'm assuming they're eating well out there.
Okay. What's the most personal song on the record?
Personal song would be Keepin the Lights On, and that's about my family, where we kind of grew up with not a lot, man. Like we just small town people, and my pops lost his job last year, and that was the first time how the song came about was basically he had lost his job. I kind of went home because they were having a tough time. They were struggling a little bit. So I just wanted to go home to spend some time with them. And we sat on the porch, and he was like, son, for the first time, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep the lights on. And I just kind of jotted that down in my mind and was like, yeah, I mean, that's crazy. But luckily, man, he's got a brand new job. They're doing real well. But it was a scary time for them. And I just think about all the times that they've had those hard times, and like they've hid it from me and stuff like that. And we didn't even know that we were poor when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I'm just thankful that they have worked so hard for me that it's kind of like the end of the song. Basically, I'm just kind of dedicating it back to them, being like, as long as I'm going to do this, I'm going to try my best to keep the lights on.
Okay. And who have you met that like teenage Kameron would freak out about?
Teenage Kameron? Oh, man. Steven Tyler.
You got to meet him?
Yeah, that was really cool. Wow. I would say that he is about as cool of a person as you can meet. Like, I feel like he just like kind of, like he's just got cool energy, like he's just a rock star. So, yeah, I would say that was wild.
Wow, that's cool. And then finally, there's a song, One That I Don't Call.
Yeah.
It feels like you pulled that from personal experience. Is that a true story?
I would say it is, yeah. That's a personal experience.
I would say it is.
Yeah.
Is there a little?
I mean, there's always a little stretching in songwriting. I feel like nothing's ever dialed down to a complete T. I feel like, but I would say that happened. We don't need to get into that.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that. All right, hey. All right, what's next for you, man? I know you got let's look past the album and everything.
Oh, man, we're doing a lot of touring this year. Gearing up for a massive fall tour that we are super freaking stoked about. And I can't wait to announce that. But we got that coming. I don't know if I'm supposed to say, but there might or may not be a second record coming this year. Might get in trouble for saying that.
Yeah, we'll find out if well, yeah, hey, Okay, cool.
We got a lot of stuff coming this year. A lot of songs. Yeah.
Great, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, dude, thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to bring in Billy Dukes from behind the camera to talk about these interviews here. What you got, BD?
I like this guy, Kameron Marlowe. It's not too often, I think, in modern country. I mean, it's tough to find artists who really kind of grew up, poor with a tough situation. It seems like we don't have nearly as many as we did like back in the day. Like everybody, Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell, George Jones, like they all had really hard situations. Now it's kind of like almost like a more of a middle class format. So it's sort of nice to see artists who grew up struggling and fighting a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you think that attributes to like you really need a financial backing to move to Nashville to try to make it, or if you don't, like you have to be homeless and live in a van like Lainey Wilson did? I mean, that really speaks to that, huh?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. But it's harder to make it nowadays. Like you're not as likely to be discovered. Like you need a little bit of an engine behind you. Social media can be that, I think, but I don't know if that bridges that economic gap per se, but it's unfortunate because we're missing out on some great talent. I think people who just don't have the backing and the money to do it.
Yeah, and we saw that with the Oliver Anthony guy when he did Rich Men North of Richmond. Like that was some talent that came straight out of the woods, and he didn't have any money backing him, from what he told us. And he had his minute, and I guess he's still going, I guess.
I agree. But on the flip side of this, our boy Kameron Marlowe, not afraid to talk about Luke Combs' good catering and the lobster. Like he's certainly here for appreciating the nicer things in life.
Dude, I had no idea. I mean, I guess if you think about it, it makes sense. But the catering levels, like we could be onto something. Like the levels of catering as you get higher up into country music. It sounds like it goes from peanuts and halved Subway sandwiches to lobster and steak.
Shout out to Subway.
Yeah. Sorry.
There seems to be a little bit of a, I don't know. I've never really figured out who like Morgan Wallen's people are, like his crew. Like Hardy is certainly part of that, Ernest. But I think it extends really pretty deep. And you heard Kameron Marlowe talk about him a little bit. Like Lainey Wilson's part of that crew. And it seems like some younger artists are as well. John Langston, who we now know introduced Morgan Wallen to Megan Maroney back in the day. Like he has like
Bailey Zimmerman.
Bailey Zimmerman's like a new member of like that posse. Like it's always interesting to me, like when an artist comes up, like his people kind of come up with them. And I wasn't sure who those people were for Morgan Wallen, but I think we're starting to find out now. It's the Kameron Marlows of the world. It's the Bailey Zimmermans. Certainly Hardy is someone who came up I don't want to say, he came up after Morgan Wallen had his success and made some of his songs big hits.
Yeah, I agree. That goes along with a lot of genres, crosses genres. Eminem with his band D12, once he made it, he brought him. Yeah. Nelly with the Saint Lunatics. There's that's really cool to see that happening. And I think it's really cool to come back and swoop up your guys and make the guys that help make you stars themselves. I think that's really cool. And you're right,
Jelly
man.
Roll.
We don't really know much about Morgan Wallen at all, but we're learning more and more every day.
Jelly Roll is trying really hard to get Struggle Jennings sort of more of a mainstream look.
Yeah, the Struggle Jennings train. Yep, he sure is.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Good interview, though. Kind of a short interview for this week, but I think we got some more interesting things to talk about, right?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times, especially, it seems like with the newer artists, they have a lot more media to do. So they're a little more crunched for time because they got to move a lot, get to a lot of people. But, yeah, they certainly have a lot of things to talk about because they're younger and newer in the genre and haven't spoken about a lot of stuff. So it was nice and meaty. And yeah, I like Kameron Marlowe, and I follow him on Instagram, and he his mom I think his mom follows me, or she likes something, a comment or two that I wrote about him, because he's a really good dude, right? He does a lot of philanthropy and things like that, like kind of like Jelly Roll, and that whole crew, like you're saying, they kind of low key secretly do that kind of stuff, and I think that's really neat.
I'll tell you, be careful with the moms, because they follow you and they like you until they don't. Like, I've been blocked by a country artist's mom before on social media.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say who, but she did it. It was Scotty McCreary's mom back in the day when I think when we were reviewing songs and albums, I don't think we gave her son a real favorable review on one of his early songs or albums, and she either blocked Taste of Country or blocked At Billy Dukes for a short amount of time. I think we've made our peace. But that was funny. I went and checked out, hey, I wonder what's going on, and block.
Dude, have you ever brought it up to Scotty? Because what if you brought it up to him and he just decked you? Like, nobody talks about my mama.
Why No, I don't think. A, I don't think I'd say anything bad about her. I mean, she's a lovely woman. I had met her previously. And B, I don't think Scotty McCreary's throwing haymakers at anybody. I think if Scotty and I were to get into a fight, and someone filmed it, it would be one of the funniest things you ever saw. It would just be one of the most pathetic back and forth fisticuffs ever. I certainly don't know how to fight, and I've never seen him fight, so I don't think really he does. But maybe he's got it in him. I don't know. But it would be ugly from my side for sure.
How did we go from talking about Kameron Marlowe to beating up Scotty McCreary?
I think it had something to do with you saying you had a crush on his mom or something.
I didn't say.
What? No? Well, maybe I checked out. So I don't know.
All right, let's get into the top 20 country songs of 2024 ranked so far, because this is ranked. It's an opinion piece, correct?
Opinion piece with a little bit of factual sort of data and analysis, I would say.
I mean, is it up for debate? Because
Yes.
I'd like to. I'm sure there's a couple in here that
100%
I'm
up for debate.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, it's at tasteofcountry.com. The 20 country songs of 2024 ranked so far. You want to roll through these, or you want me to, and kind of let's talk about
I'll
them?
give you a little bit of context first, and this is a little bit of behind the scenes on how lists like this are put together, especially the mid-year versions, right? Our end goal is to get people interested in the list, to get some artists to sort of engage. We want it to be authentic. We're not going to throw anything crazy up there, but I haven't listened to every country song that's, the deep cut from to go back to Struggle Jennings. I haven't listened to his full album and considered every song on that for this list. So we're talking mostly released radio singles, promotional tracks, or songs that sort of have caught people's attention in other ways. Those are the ones sort of under consideration. And then from there, you sort of structure the list. Here's the secret about top 10, top 20, top 40 lists. You're really interested in the first thing you see, the number 20 song on this list. You want to kind of grab people's attention and almost slight an artist or a song. So people are like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. This is serious, right? And then maybe you kind of back it down to a couple of artists and songs that people are familiar with but don't have super strong feelings about. Then about 10 to 12 songs don't really matter. The order of them don't really matter. It's good to include them, but no one's going to argue that number 13 should be better than number 12. And then you always put the song you think should be number 1 at number 2. And then the real number 1 song is something that is oh, Taste of Country, putting so-and-so at number 1 here. I see. So that's sort of
there's a method.
Now, as we get to the end of the year, that kind of might change. We might have a real top, but this one, we're starting some conversation. I want to stir it up a little bit.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I respect that. So, all right, well, let's jump right in then. In at number 20 is Lainey Wilson, "Hang Tight, Honey."
New song.
That's a big song. The first time I heard that one, I was like, oh, yeah, that's so fast. It's such a fast song.
It's a great song overall. I think probably if the song hits number one and kind of has some sales success, it'll move up throughout the year. But boom, a Lainey Wilson song right off the top. Wanted to get that one, get her on.
Okay.
I think that's her only song so far.
Yeah, I mean, you have like, in at number 19 is Chris Young, Young Love and Saturday Night. I agree. That song's taken a while to get going, though.
It did. I think maybe at the end of the year some other songs will pass it, but it's a jam. It's a banger. A little more nondescript. Same with 18. Zach Top Sounds Like the Radio. I wanted to get that song on there. He's a great newcomer. We'll see how that song progresses, I think, and then he can move up or down. But it's probably like one of the better traditional country songs on this list, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, listening to that song, like, I mean, I'm not a cowboy hat, cowboy boots type of guy from the 90s, but that makes me feel like I'm like Burt Reynolds. Like, that song makes me feel like I've got a skull mark in the back of my jeans.
Yeah,
I love that song.
It's getting a lot of traction.
Here's another one getting a lot of traction. Everybody's talking about this one on TikTok. Ella Langley featuring Riley Green. You look like you look like you love me. In at number 17.
So this song was really new when the list was published, and I'm really fascinated to see what kind of life it has. Like, is it just a moment that's going to disappear? Because I don't think it's a radio single yet. Is it?
No, we don't play it. Yeah, we don't play it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna. It's like a lot of country artists' favorite song, so that's what's tough about it.
It's so unique, I think, and their voices sound, and the chemistry is so good. Like, in terms of just like song quality, it's top 10, but it hasn't had like its moment yet. So that song could go either way, I think, through the end of the year.
Well, at number 16 is a song that we do play on Taste of Country Nights that I want to know more about. Like, where have I heard the name Co Wetzel
Oh, he's
from?
been kicking around for a while. A little bit of an I don't want to say he's an underground artist. He just hasn't had a mainstream hit. Almost like a similar level of fame to like a Tyler Childers type artist. But Jessie Murph is super interesting to me as well. She had like a big sales hit and streaming hit with a song with Jelly Roll that kind of put her on the map. And then she does this Co Wetzel song, and there's the hook of this song. I can't say it because there's a 4-letter word in it. Maybe the radio edit doesn't have it.
There it is.
But this is the S Show song, if that kind of lets you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. I want to skip ahead. This list is up at tasteofcountry.com. The top country songs of 2024. In at number 9 is, you're going to cause a little controversy, I think, with the Randy Travis new song, where that came from, simply because it was created with artificial intelligence. So a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there are those people out there with the asterisks, in baseball, you can't make the Hall of Fame with the asterisk. It is because it's AI. So I feel like that's going to draw some attention.
That part doesn't matter as much to me, but I get it. I think people are going to kind of wonder if that song should even be included. It's called Where That Came From. And by the way, it's just ahead of number 10 is the Beyonce Texas Hold'em song. So like back to back, people are like, tilting their head a little bit. You can't deny the Beyonce song. I did put Randy a little bit ahead of Beyonce. I don't know if that'll hold end of year, because I think just in terms of a pure country song, the lyrics a little bit better. But you could kind of swap those. I don't know. The AI thing doesn't bother me, especially as it pertains to Randy Travis. For now, I'm going to take each case on its own and evaluate. If someone brings a Joe Diffie song back with AI voice, then I'm not so sure that I'll give it the same level of love. But given that Randy Travis, we know he put his blessing on it, I'm cool with it. I got no issues.
All right, let's hop into number 6, because this is one of my favorite songwriters, Jordan Davis with Tucson Too Late. I think that's a great song. When I first heard the name of it, before I heard the song, when I saw the name, I was like, I don't know, a song about a smaller city in Arizona, but man, is that a good storytelling song right there.
This is like the list's most pure, like just straightforward, no frills country song. Like, it almost slips by you on the radio because it doesn't have like a lot of flash and bang. It's just sort of like a subtle, great song from Jordan Davis. And he almost released this song as a single before he released the song that I think was actually number one on our list last year. Not Buy Dirt. What's the ballad that he had that made everybody cry? Gosh, I'm blanking on it.
Next Thing You Know
was number one. He almost released Tucson Too Late as a single first, and they pivoted, but he wanted to get this song out there. It's a little Keith Whitley-esque, I think, and Jordan has kind of like some contemporary sound to him, so it sounds really good when he sort of does this. But just a great, pure song. The kind of song I think you're going to hear on the radio for 10, 20 years and just sort of appreciate over time.
All right, I'm going to leave you with this. I don't want to reveal what number one is, but I'm going to reveal three of the top three in no particular order, and you got to go to tasteofcountry.com to figure out what is number one. So I'm going to scramble them. All right, the names are Shabuzi, a bar song. I got Cody Johnson, Dirt Cheap, and then there's Post Malone and Morgan Wallen, I Had Some Help. Rounding out the list of the top country songs of 2024 ranked so far, but not in a particular order there at the bottom three. Remember, if you want to see what number one is, you got to head on over to tasteofcountry.com and check that out. And thank you so much for listening to Taste of Country Nights on Demand.